Hello and welcome to this installment of Talkin Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we are looking at a trim panel kit for a Triumph TR4. Specifically, we're looking at the TR4 Soft top model, which did differ to the Surrey top model, all related to these pieces here, which we refer to as the rear three-piece units, sometimes referred to as the hood storage area. It's effectively the hood frame or top boot cover for the TR4, which was very unique. They only did it on this one model and then they dropped it and reverted to the traditional top boot covers, shall we say. But for the TR4s, they did this setup here. So it did differ massively to the Surrey top in that section there, so bear that in mind. And also TR4As or TR4 IRS models, completely different. So this is purely the TR4 soft top. There are elements of this kit that are transferable over, but really refer to the other videos I've done showing those kits, because this should really just be for the TR4 soft top. I've also included occasional rear seat units in this video. We've got a couple going through. They're sold completely separately to the trim panel kit, and they are actually pretty rare. You don't see many of them in the car. They're what people refer to as occasional, simply for the fact they didn't do many of them. They were occasionally fitted. But you might want to consider it at the same time. It's kind of got the same HFRF weld pattern on them, and so some people, zoom in a bit, you get there, just there, some people like to match up those. My father's got a Surrey top TR5, and he's got the occasional rear seat in the back there, which is great if you're a young kid or you want the aesthetics of having a rear seat instead of just a carpeted section. So I'll go over that element of it in more detail as we get to it. This kit here is sold as a kit. Let me get everything in frame to show you exactly what's included. So as a trim panel kit, everything in the frame right now is sold as a kit. Of course, we can sell those items individually if you want, but bear in mind when we sell things individually, we sell them in car sets, i.e. pairs. So the door panels, for example, are sold as a pair. Bear that in mind. But the benefit to buying as a trim panel kit is, one, it's cheaper overall, and two, everything's going to be made out the exact same material, so batches are going to match, etc. So it is worth considering that side of things. This specific kit has been done in midnight blue, which was an original colour for Triumph, and that's actually what Triumph called us as well. And it's been done in vinyl ambler, again, which is factory spec, like they would have done originally. We can also offer in leather if you want. This video is going to be a bit of an overview video of the kit. I'm going to try and go into a decent amount of detail on the parts, but effectively it's worth checking out a few of my other videos, which will be linked at the end of this video, to go into more detail on the individual parts. But I will do a decent amount on it, but be sure to check those videos out as well. Let's start with the door panels. So door panels sold as a pair or included in the kit as standard. They're hardboard, they're marine grade and automotive grade hardboard. They're specifically 2.55mm. We import it especially for this, and we've used it for decades, and it's very suitable. A lot of other companies don't go to the levels that we go to in terms of making sure the thickness is correct for suitability in the car. We do, and that's what we're renowned for. In fact, Mark Macy of Macy's Garage, his TR4, it was actually a Surrey top, but his TR4 won perfect 100-point score. I think it's done it twice at the Triumph International over in the US, and that's using our interior. In fact, I believe it was midnight blue as well. So bear that in mind. They're the levels we go to. But hardboard panels, all cut on our in-house CNC machine, and they're all cut with the pilot holes showing. So you've got the main fixing holes all around the outside, which use these fixing clips, which we'll come to in a second. Then you have the various pilot holes for the door pull handle there. Then you had the release mechanism here and the winder here. No, sorry, other way around. That's the window winder there. That's the release there. You can see here. So you've got the handle at the top there. Then you've got the door release there, and then the window winder there. Bear in mind there are two holes. It's for different models. So the smaller one is relevant to the TR4 models. Just bear that in mind. Then it's also got the pilot hole here, and there is another one just under there that you have for the screws that held the pockets a bit more firmly in place there. So bear that in mind. Going on to the fixings are sold separately to the trim panel kit. So you get a load of these, which obviously for all the main interior panels. Note that our green fixings are ever so slightly bigger than the original black ones, and we do that intentionally. We can supply black ones if you prefer, but the green ones is what we've used for decades to good effect. It makes it slightly harder to fit, but it does mean that they're not going to rattle off during the journeys that you go on in the car. And often, especially around this sort of area here, because of the vibrations in the car as you're driving along and the thickness around here, they did sometimes pop off with the black ones. So it's worth having these slightly bigger, fatter ones of these. It does mean you kind of have to almost punch the door panel on in certain areas, but it means that it doesn't come off nearly as easily. So you get a load of those. Then you get these pieces here. So you get the screw, the washer and the cover there, which are literally these pieces here. Only available in black at the moment, but you can paint them. Actually, we are in the process of getting a load of different colours made. So soon we'll be able to effectively colour match to the main trim. So watch the space on that one. And then you get a load of these screws and washers, posi version ones, which are mainly for the rear section of the car over there. So they're fixings sold separately. Carrying on with the door panels, hardboard, obviously they are HF/RF welded, so they have this lovely embossed weld line pattern on them, which did change over the years, but the TR4, 4As, 5s and 250s mainly use this pattern here. Even the pocket's welded and the pocket is elasticated as well. And it comes through onto the back there. It's effectively good for keeping a map in, or possibly an iPhone, smartphone these days. Worth bearing in mind that we're certainly not the only company in the world that has the correct RF HF weld patterns, but some companies out there just stitch the lines on there and they'll try and claim that it's for longevity. It's absolutely not. It's because they don't own one of the machines, which costs tens of thousands and is a worthwhile investment for us. So don't get swayed by that element of things. They're doing it because they haven't invested in the tooling, so bear that in mind. But everything's HF/RF welded as standard. We can also offer that on leather kits if you want as well, which again, not a lot of other companies can, because we've worked out a special trick of how to do that with leather. So they're effectively the door panels. They're then piped all the way around. Traditionally, the TR4s had white piping on them, as per this set here. Some people choose to go with same colour as the main trim, which we're more than happy to do. And then other people like to do their own customs colour schemes, which again, of course, we can cater for, so bear that in mind. Generally speaking, the piping was plastic, which we can offer in white. But if you go for a kind of a full kit from us, normally we recommend using leather cloth, which is what this is, which is a lot more robust as a piping than the white plastic stuff. And it means that, say, if you're having the seats from us as well, which we'd always do with leather cloth, it means that all the piping is matching within the car. So it's just those little details and touches, again, that make us who we are and why we've got the reputation that we have. So they're the door panels, as per those in the car there. Now, moving slightly further, you've got the sort of B-post area. So we call this B-post strip. It's effectively the area of the bodywork of the car that the door kind of slams on. So it's back here effectively, or down here. You don't see much of it when it's all said and done in the car. In fact, some of the edging of the draft excluder will cover it all up. But we offer two bits of vinyl or leather. The leather will be skived down as standard for covering that area there. They're oversized to easily get the best fit on them. Then you get the B-post panels, gusset panels as some people refer to them, which are these pieces down here. Right, and it's worth noting as well that the TR4 and the TR4As were the same as each other. They were effectively a millboard panel with a piece of vinyl wrapped around two of the three edges, and then the other bit wraps around a bit of the metalwork during the trimming process. The TR5, 250 and TR6s changed, as you can see there. The TR4s, you can't really see it, oh, you can. They only covered the inside section of the gusset support panel with the material. The rest of it was exposed bodywork, whereas the TR5s and TR6s and TR250s, they wrapped the material round. I believe they're interchangeable, but effectively originally that was how the TR4 and 4As were supplied, like that. So again, they're sold as a pair or included as standard in the kit. Moving slightly further back, you've got the what we refer to as the B-post quarter panels. Some people might refer to them as the wheel arch panels. And they're fairly self-explanatory. These are these panels here that go up the B-post and over the wheel arch around like that. Again, they are hardboard, cut on our in-house CNC machine, and they've got the relevant fixing hole brackets for not just the fixings but also for the hood frame mechanisms, etc. Again, with that we have standardized them for a few different models, so always worth making sure you're lining up the correct holes for that side of things. It's even got the cutaway there, floataways for the, I believe it's for the seatbelt retainers. Now it's worth noting at this stage that the TR4 quarter panels was slightly shorter around here and slightly thinner than the following TR4As and 5s and 6s. Please do refer to the video at the end of this one about that, because that is a common area that has changed over the years with people getting repairs to their cars and standardization of the kits and whatnot. And it also affects this bulkhead panel at the back here, so they match up. So bear that in mind. We have all the original templates and patterns. We know how they're meant to be done, but some people, you will find they have had their car altered over the course of the year, and unknowingly that back area has changed subtly and people are semi-unaware of it. It's all to do with a change in the bodywork related to the top of the wheel arch, how one was flat, one was a bit more curved, etc. Please do check out that video, because again, these are the levels of detail that we go to on these sorts of things. Now you'll notice that the quarter panels, we have excess material at the top edge there and at the bottom edge there, and that's done intentionally. That gets tucked behind kind of the rear bulkhead section, and then this gets tucked onto the floor underneath like the carpets and felt and whatnot, and it means that everything seamlessly flows. You don't get any bodywork exposure, so bear that in mind. Again, they're piped just down this top front edge here and round the corner. As for this, again, it's been done in leather cloths. It all matches, nicely done, and then we get ours to fade away there at the top. Again, if you look at other people's kits out there, they just cut the piping off raw, don't bother tidying it up around that edge. Again, it's these little touches that have given us a reputation that we have got and thoroughly deserve. Again, the quarter panels are HFRF welded. Again, this pattern did change on the TR6s. It changed subtly on there, so bear that in mind. You then have the wheel arch covers, which are sewn covers. You get a right and a left, and you also get some foam padding underneath them. It's always easy to work out the rights on our things because we do little triangles for anything that's on the right hand side that's not obvious. So you get a pair of those. Again, they're piped leather cloth, and they're made deeper than they need to be so that you can effectively fold and cut round onto the kind of rear shelf area and onto the floor. Again, we've tried to make our kits as universally easy to use during the fitment process as possible, and we've made several changes, subtle changes, to make sure that everything cohesively fits together and whatnot. So they're the wheel arches. Then you've got this rather unique three-piece unit at the back here. So this effectively acted as the hood storage area, so effectively where you would hide your hood frame when it wasn't in use. And it's a very, very odd design, one that they only really did what they only did for the TR4 soft top. You can't really see it in this book, the bookmarker page. There you are, you can just about make it out in there, but not really. The majority of the cars, they look like that. That's obviously a Surrey top, and it had a bulkhead panel with the weld pattern on it. Obviously, they say the TR4 soft top car, they had a similar sort of panel there. Then they just had a top boot cover that went around the outside. If I can try and find a photo of a top boot cover, I know I've got one. There you go, there's a top boot cover going around there. So that was how they evolved. But the TR4 had this very strange three-piece unit. And well, it's vinyl or leather if you wanted. It's again got this HFRF weld on it. It's sewn, got the piping, bound around the edges. It has these left and right pieces. Now, effectively, this kind of goes onto the rear deck area and gets clamped underneath the chrome finishes that went around the circumference of the rear deck of the bodywork of the car, and that kind of trapped it in place. And then it acted as a flap, and it came down, and you had these bits sewn onto the bottom, these flaps here, which actually went onto fixings on the rear shelf, which you can just make out in this photo here, albeit it's a Surrey top, that one, but it seems to have those fixings there. And we do supply the female versions of the fixings, which basically we use for this section here, and also these bits here, which went onto the B post there. So these effectively flapped up. This effectively flapped up onto the so the bodywork car. Then you would hide the hood frame down and then flap it down underneath. Effectively, very strange design. Anyway, that was originally from the factory, and thankfully they dropped it after the TR4 Soft top. It does come with the sort of foam padding on the back of it, etc. For that piece there. Again, do see I've done another slightly more in-depth video, so do see that's there because it'll give you a bit more insight into it. And then you have this sort of untrimmed bulkhead panel at the back here. Now, as mentioned before, this is not as deep as the later cars, coincided with this section here, so bear that in mind. And it had this foam on the top of it, and the reason was that effectively went like that up against the bodywork of the car. And then this almost depth here is effectively allowing the hood frame to sit behind it. A bit of a confusing one, so do contact me if you can't work it out or you can't use your original one as a guide, because we do have some useful photos that I can share with you on how exactly that's fitted in the car. That often causes a bit of confusion and a bit of head scratching, so keep that in mind. We can send you photos of that. But yeah, it's a very odd design. There's also a YouTube video done by some guys over in either the US or Canada who have used, I think it's a moss kit. It's a biscuit kit, and it's a sewn one. You don't have the welds on there, you have sewing. And the way they've trimmed that area looks fine and it works. It's not the correct way, so don't be misguided by that. That's not a criticism of it at all. It's just the way it's been done. But don't be misguided. That's not the original way. It's worth noting as well, obviously I touched on it earlier about how some companies only offer the sewn versions of the doors. Same again for these here. This should be HFRF welded like we've done here. Other companies out there, they effectively pleat it. That's not correct. HFRF welding is the correct way, and this is what we've done here. So that there is effectively the trim panel kit, sold as a kit or items individually if you so choose. Then finally, let's just touch on these rear seat units. And again, I've done individual videos showing these pieces before, so be sure to check those out. But these were occasionally fitted, hence the name, as a rear seat. And they would effectively sit on this rear shelf here. They would just be lodged into place. They've got the HFRF weld on them, so it does match up to the weld of the three-piece unit or a rear bulkhead panel on a Surrey top, for example. And obviously we still have them fully trimmed up. Plywood base. They've got the fixing brackets holes on the floor there. They've obviously got a thick foam padding in them. They've got a bit of a recess there, which is obviously for the differential hump to sit in between. This kit, actually both of these kits, have been done in full leather. This has been done in bright red grain, so no vinyl elements to it whatsoever. It's full leather. And then this one here has actually been done in shadow blue, which is the other blue that Triumph used for their range of TRs. It's a bit lighter if I put them next to it. You can see the colour difference there. It's not showing up as well on the camera, but it is quite a bit lighter. It's like a pale blue. And again, that's been done in full leather, albeit in the smooth version of the leather there. So you might want to consider those rear seat units as well, because they tie in nicely, and at least for aesthetics, really do set the car off nicely. So worth considering that as well. But I think I've covered my bases there. Like I say, please remember to check out the other videos that I have done on these parts, because they might go into a bit more depth on them. But I wanted to give a good overview on exactly what we can offer for the TR4 Soft Top. Hope you found it useful. Please remember to like, subscribe and share with other classic car enthusiasts, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.